Welcome to LOA Today. I'm Walt Thiessen here with Daniel Mangina. Today is Tuesday, February the 11th, 2020. It's 4 p.m. New York time. And wherever you are in the world, thank you for joining us for another episode of LOA Today, your daily dose of happy. Unhappily, Alex can't join us today. They have no power. They have no power on the Cape. I mean, that's not a good thing. Hopefully that'll get cleared up for her tonight. Otherwise, it's going to be a really cold night. But we're going to hold out the positive thoughts of warmth. Daniel, you got warmth down there. Let's send some warmth up to the Cape so that she can be warmed up
I
tonight.
haven't actually got that much warmth. Actually, it's actually a bit. It's been gloomy. It's really funny. I'm a little bit like, why am I here? I'm here for the sun. Olga's not been able to sunbathe, so she's been unhappy about that.
Oh my goodness!
So I've been double dipped. And I've been wearing sweaters.
Wow! In
it's
Mexico,
not cold enough to wear a sweater, but I'm so used to it being really warm.
Right.
That when it's not, it's like maybe 18.
Wow, that's a
centigrade.
Yeah, that's just well, yeah. Well, it's not 18 up here, but that's Fahrenheit.
Yeah,
it's a different measurement.
Yeah,
but yeah, 18 that's fairly cool for down there. I mean,
yeah,
wow.
It's been like that, and it's been gloomy. Like it's been overcast. The sun popped out yesterday, but we'll see.
Well, we'll just try to just brighten everything up through what we talk about, because what you focus on, that's what you tend to attract more of. So we'll just brighten everything up, and the sun will come out, and everything will be good.
And it won't need to wait till tomorrow. And I will reverse my gloomy outlook. My references to the gloominess, and I'll be like, oh my goodness, there is a sun and there are clouds, which is nice.
There you go. Find that silver lining in those clouds.
I can see it. In fact, the more clouds there are, the more silver linings. There's the rephrase. Look at all of those silver linings.
I love it.
With silver linings.
You got so many silver linings there, and it's blinding. All of the sunlight bouncing off those silver linings. Exactly. It just comes right down.
I can't take it. All of the silver.
Oh, that's funny. So anyway, I didn't really have a clear topic in mind, but we haven't done something in a while on the show that I'm not sure we ever did it with you. But we used to do it quite a bit. We used to do Q&A, as we called it. Sometimes it's where we actually have live streamers who are listening in, and they add their own questions. And we do have at least one listener listening to the live stream, so we may get a question that way. But what I like to do sometimes is just go through social media and see what are people posting about, and then try to address it as if we were talking to them, And who knows, maybe they might even listen. You never know. It's just possible.
I love the Q&A. I love the Q&A.
Yeah, so let's do a little Q&A. So this is, I'm going to draw from the Facebook group called Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, which is a pretty good sized group. They have over 100,000 members. So they usually have something interesting going on. And this one person posts something, talk about silver linings and the lack thereof. This person is not in a good place. This person says, I really don't want to be negative on here, but I need to express how I feel. I'm so tired of being single. All my life I have ever wanted was to be a mom. I'm almost 28 now and still single. In my culture, that is really old to be single. I'm tired and frustrated. I was so positive for so many years through the shame, but things still ended up like this. Now, it's not really a question, but it's more like a condition, a situation, a thought process that is obviously turning fairly chronic. So if you were sitting in front of this person, what would you say?
Do you know what? I've actually worked with someone who's in her late 40s, who divorced, hasn't got a child, and like the one thing that she wants is to have a kid. The only thing that she really cares about. Yeah. And it doesn't matter about the fact that she's done so many other things. She's created financial freedom for herself. She's about to have she's got the freedom now to start traveling. But what's actually happening is the obsession with this one thing that she hasn't got is actually dragging down the things that she does have, and they're actually starting to turn to crap now.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. And what I had said to her, which she was kind of doing, which was understanding that the possibility of going forward from here is limited to your beliefs about what's possible going forward from here.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've got another friend of mine who's in her late 40s, about to hit 50 even, I think, and is still completely confident that she's going to have more kids. She's like, I'm going to have kids into my 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And she is so confident of that now is in her knowing. She's in her knowing about this as a fact. It's a fact. Her reality is now aligned with this deeply rooted belief that she will continue to have children into her 60s, or I think maybe even later than that she was talking about.
Wow, really?
She had kids well into her 40s, right? So with regards to this young lady, I'd said to her, well, at the moment, you're fixed on what's not there, and you've committed to the belief that it's not going to happen for you. And in my, my standard way of just being real, and as long as that's your belief system, that's what's going to be.
Yeah.
So if you choose to be so committed to this, that this is what it's going to be, then guess what? This is what it's going to be. Now, if you want to have something different, we can start the work of doing that, but only once you're ready to break your commitment to this current state of being that's showing up as you not having this outcome. Because as it stands, you're not going to have any kids. So this young lady here who's in this group, whose question you just shared, first and foremost, so long as she's so committed to having the story that she's just shared with us, that's going to be her reality. Because the fact is, we experience what our vibrational match to, and our vibrational match is always going to be aligned with what we're committed to doing and being. And so, honestly, if she was in front of me, I would ask her, are you ready to let go of this story? And if she wasn't, I wouldn't say anything else, because that's just what she's going to experience. She's creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of, oh, woe is me. I'm not crapping on them, just, oh, woe is me. I'm 28 years old and I don't have a kid.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And if this is your outlook on life, then how do you expect to have anything that's going to make you happy? I'm 28 years and I don't have a kid. The world is ending. Now, I know that we've got the whole first world problems thing, and this problem and that problem is all relative. But the fact of the matter is, until you are ready within yourself to move away from the stories that are showing up as who you are, that is all you're going to have. Mm. And I personally don't really give energy to anyone that's still so committed to their story that they're not ready to do anything else. So the first thing that we do is support her in breaking free of the attachment to this story, the commitment to playing out this role, because she doesn't have to play it out. She doesn't have to play it out any longer. Love could be around the corner, and a child is just an inception away. And she's got a good 30 years of childbearing years yet. Now, yes, there's the cultural element, but the cultural element only affects you to the level that you actually allow it to affect you emotionally. And that's where I would go first.
Yeah, I agree with you. In fact, I had very much the same reaction when I saw what she had posted, and a couple thoughts occurred to me. First, that cultural factor for a lot of people is a really, really big deal. And it's an interesting thing that we're going through as I'll call it a world society. I mean, really, it's a collection of societies and communities and so forth, but I'll treat it as one society for the moment and say there's a shift that is going on, and it's going on, I would say, primarily because of the internet, because of the fact that everybody is now interconnected and we all can learn more about each other and, different cultures and all that kind of stuff. And because of that interconnectedness, people like us who talk about what we talk about here, we are just through what we talk about, through what we believe, through what we feel, and through that interconnectedness of the net, we are having an influence on these other more traditional viewpoints. And it's creating almost a counter pressure, if you know what I mean. It's creating a counter pressure, and there's a lot of pushback. I mean, the communities that have these traditional belief systems are pushing back. They're saying, "Oh, no. This is the way we've always done things." So people find themselves caught in the middle of that. So not only is she dealing with the fact that her culture is saying, "Well, you should be pregnant and have children by now," but she's also dealing with this dynamic going on with the world culture, and she's trapped in the middle of it. and that mentality of being trapped, I imagine, I'm kind of projecting here, but that mentality of being trapped is contributing, I suspect, to her frustrations. That now, she knows on the one hand, there's this group, the Law of Attraction Changed My Life group, lots of people talking about take control of your life there. On the other hand, she's got her local family and friends and influencers and so forth who are all saying traditional, traditional, traditional. And that creates tremendous amounts of cognitive dissonance. It creates just huge confusion in the human mind. So, I mean, on the one hand, it's a tremendous opportunity to say, hey, shoot, maybe I should start changing my mindset. On the other hand, it's a tremendous opportunity to remain totally trapped and totally frustrated by the fact that you got two directions that you're being pulled in.
And you know what? It's not easy.
No, it's not.
I did a video about this a little while ago, like maybe a week or two ago. Right, this is not the easy path. Anyone that joins these Law of Attraction Today groups or the Neville Goddard groups or whatever, any the Abraham Hicks groups, if you come to any of these or you're listening to this radio show right now, thinking that this is going to be the easy path for you to change your life and you're going to be able to snap your fingers and magic's going to happen, I'm sorry to break it to you, but that's not the way it is. And that's not because this is not an easy work or an easy flowing way to live your life. It is. This is the most peaceful, joyful, flowing, graceful, amazing way to live life.
I agree.
But stepping into that and breaking free of who you are now so that you can actually live in integrity to these principles and these ways of living, there's a lot of energy required to break the stories that you've been associated with, to shift your mindset to a completely new paradigm and a way of thought and a way of doing and being, to break away from blame and step into self-responsibility. That leap is often not an easy one. And so this young lady, she's got work ahead of her. And that work doesn't start with showing up in the group. It starts with being ready to show up for you. With recognizing that even though right now you feel, oh, woe is me, and I'm not talking about suppressing, right? I'm not talking about pretending things are differently, but expressing your dissatisfaction from a state of self-power is a very different proposition from expressing your dissatisfaction from a state of this is all that's wrong and I don't see a way out of it. Does that make sense?
It does make sense. And in fact, I would even perhaps make a little bit stronger statement. It's the difference between saying I have the power to get out and I'm dissatisfied with where I am versus I am a victim of what I am right now. I am out of control. My outer external circumstances control me. Those are really diametrically different viewpoints.
And I think it's important for people to understand that the depth of victimhood shifts from person to person.
It does.
Right? And when we're talking about quantum leap, when we're talking about like a woman that I met in the Dr. Joe Dispenza retreat that I went to in January, she had stage 4 cancer before the retreat and she doesn't have it anymore.
Whew, wow.
Right?
I get shivers whenever I hear these stories. I just get shivers down my spine.
She was in my group. We've connected. We've started to develop a friendship. I'm going to spend some more time with her when I go back out to the Middle East. But there was a level of certainty in her that broke the connection from the timeline that she was on before, where she had stage 4 cancer, to where she is now. Now, she was doing treatments and stuff like that, but we know people that do treatment and still pass on, right? Before the retreat, I mean, we're talking about cancer got into her bones to the point that she's French Moroccan descent, Muslim faith. She couldn't pray. By the end of the event, she was able to bend down and actually fully pray. She wasn't able to do that before. Now, it was a level of certainty that this was going to happen that translated into the result of it happening. Certainty does not show up in victimhood. Victimhood and certainty cannot exist in the same breath unless we're talking about certainty about being a victim.
Yes.
I cannot be certain of my ownership and responsibility to create change and on any level be a victim to circumstance. So if we're talking about making a quantum leap into an experience in our lives where we're actually dictating outcomes, we do not have any space in that story for stories of being a victim on any level. Not, yeah, but, or even, most of the time, or sometimes, if only I would be, but I'm justified. No, you have to put all of those stories aside and stand fully in integrity to the commitment to be that new person, to be that person with agency, with self-dominion. Only then can any outcome show up for you. Otherwise, you're leaving the door open to your subconscious programs, to your old patterns, to your old stories. If you want to do something new, you have to let go of everything old. And right now, she's still holding on to the old. And until she's ready to let go of that, and again, I'm not name shaming or like having a go or anything like that. I'm simply stating a fact, not my opinion. A fact. We experience what a vibrational match do. And that story still shows or demonstrates a vibrational match to the victim story on some level.
And let's be perfectly honest, it takes a lot of courage to take that position, particularly if we've been trained from childhood or earlier to be the victim, to follow the way that the society teaches us to be, and to basically look outside of ourselves for cues rather than looking internally and so forth. When you have years and years of that kind of training, it takes a tremendous amount of courage to say, you know what? I'm going to start relying on myself, who up until now I have not allowed myself to be. That's hard.
Yeah, it is. And again, well, we're letting the people know this is not the lazy man's path.
Yeah, no kidding.
Right? And that's in a generation with social media and global communications and all sorts of networking and all of that, the popularization of the popcorn variation of these fundamental truths have, in some circles, evolved this idea that I'm going to snap my fingers and I'm going to say one thing every day for 30 days and then my life's going to completely change. No, saying one thing every day for 30 days can support me making the choice to be different. Yes. Doing those three things can support me in showing up to be different. Doing my rampage every morning isn't what creates the shift. Doing my rampage every morning is what opens me up to a new vibrational frequency, which is what allows me to experience the shift. That is the difference. There is still a choice. There's still a shift.
So let's talk about some of the ways that we can take that charge. Okay, I'm in this very weak position. I have always been trained to be in this weak position. I have never really believed in myself, but on some level deep down inside, I recognize, okay, I do need to take charge of my own life, and I don't know how to do it. Where do I start?
Well, this is what my work's all about, as you know. It's all about disrupting the status quo and what we do.
Uh-oh, we got a bit of a freeze up here. I have a feeling he's got a call coming in. He's going to try to clear that one. How soon will he be able to come back? We don't know yet. Daniel, where did you go? Well, I'll tell you what, while he's trying to reconnect, let me take a brief pause here for a commercial message that I normally would not have done. But I want to make sure that we give him a chance to finish his presentation there. And obviously he can't do that until he's reconnected. So first of all, this is the kind of content you get every single day by being a subscriber to the podcast. And if you're not subscribing, we want you to subscribe. So take a moment, just go to the homepage of our website, loatoday.net. And at the top of the page, you will find instructions on how exactly to become a subscriber. It's about 1 or 2 clicks, really, really simple. And then after that, you get all of our programs streaming right to your smartphone every single day. And then also be sure to check us out on YouTube, because when Daniel's connection is working and when my other co-hosts' connections are working, we are live streaming to YouTube as we are recording these podcasts. And you can actually watch us and see what we're doing and what we're talking about while we're doing the recordings. If you are able to watch us live, we do it Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. New York time. That would be great. We certainly love to have people participate in that. But even if you can't do it live, you can always listen to the recordings. And again, you just do it by subscribing to us on YouTube. So just do a search on YouTube for LOA Today podcast videos. Click on the little bell so that you get notified whenever we are subscribed or whenever we are publishing something, so that as a subscriber, you get that feedback coming right back to you, and you get to watch all of our videos. And that way you can follow us both as a podcast subscriber and as a YouTube subscriber. And I think Daniel has figured out he needs to use a different device, so he's logged in with his phone. Congratulations on figuring out how to connect back in, Daniel. We're glad to have you back.
The computer died. The computer died.
Poor computer. I feel so bad for that computer. Yeah. Well, the computer was probably just too cold. Is all it was.
Yeah, I think the computer broke up. With like, I'm not going to do this anymore.
Oh, we got a low volume there, so you're gonna have to stay close to your mic. I don't know what's going on there.
Okay, I think we're going to have to do what we've had to do, which is what we've had to do.
Well, that sounds good, actually.
Does it sound good now?
Yeah, it sounds very good.
Oh, okay.
Well, I don't know what happened,
won't do what I was going to do.
Yeah, it all cleared up, whatever it is.
Brilliant. So anyway, yeah, what was I saying?
Before we got rudely interrupted by the internet.
Naughty internet. Yeah, my work is all about that. It's choosing new outcomes that align with new experiences and breaking free of who we are so that we can step into that in the short term. And then in the long term, actually create a state of being that's ready to keep stepping consistently into new ways of existing rather than being on old patterns and old programs. So, short term, hack it to get what I need and desire now. Long term, shift it so that I don't keep reverting back to stuff that I don't want to experience consciously. And for me, I teach it's a simple 4-step process. But that 4-step process has got work involved in each step of the process. But as you navigate those steps, you do keep expanding, you do keep growing, and then you can actually have something else. Is mine the only model for it? No. But mine is based on 20 odd years of researching all of the models that I have seen and experienced, and I find it to work for a lot of people. Not for everyone, but generally what I find is that it's people that aren't ready, really, that aren't able to really apply it.
And it's an interesting point too that you just touched on at the end there, because we mentioned that we don't really know what this person, what answer they would give to the question, "Are you ready to make the change? Are you ready to shift your perspective?" It's quite possible that the answer would be no. And if the answer is no, that's where I think it's incumbent upon us, I think you probably agree with this, to recognize, that's a valid choice. It may not be the choice you and I would have made, but it's a perfectly valid choice. There's nothing wrong with that kind of a choice. This is not right or wrong going on here. This is rather about empowerment, or whether you feel like you need to be more empowered in your life. And if you do, then we have a lot to tell you about it. If you don't, then we say, well, then we wish you the best. I hope you have a great life.
Exactly. I mean, and people. I mean, I've said this a few times. There've been times in my coaching work that I've refunded people at varying stages of the process because they may be verbalizing that they're ready, but the reality that I'm experiencing based on the choices that they're exhibiting shows that they're not. And I'm not here to validate victim stories. I'm not here to give my time and energy to just allow you to validate a disempowering story, and I'm not going to take your money for that. That's a personal choice of mine.
Sure.
But I love that you've touched on something that I think is really important for people to understand. Don't judge yourself for not being ready yet, because that's just going to keep you further away from being ready. Own that you're not ready and be okay with that, and then maybe one day you'll be ready, and maybe one day you won't, and maybe that's just what you choose on some level of consciousness to experience on this time around in a meat suit. Does it really matter? Not if you're not ready to step into it mattering enough to make a different choice. And for some people, they're just not ready to do that. And if you're not ready to do that, okay, you're not ready to do that.
That does lead to a theme that we often see, which is, what does it take for somebody to be ready? And often the answer to that is hitting bottom. And bottom, of course, is different for every single person. But usually, I guess the best way to quantify bottom is when you just can't take anymore. You're done. Like, no, this has got to change. I'm done. I can't handle this anymore.
I agree.
Yeah.
And I think you've just found that nail and hit it on the head again. It's, are you ready? Yes or no? And if no, cool. Take a breather, own where you are. And just by owning where you are, you've actually made yourself that little bit more powerful.
You do.
You've actually stepped that little bit closer to being able to make a different choice going forward. And again, I don't necessarily, in this expression of consciousness, I don't necessarily support or condone, even, because I don't have that power over someone else, but it's not what I'm aligned with. But you know what? If at a soul level or another level of consciousness, you've decided to see what it feels like to be a victim for a little bit, cool.
Yeah.
That's not for me to judge. That's not for me to say anything about. I just choose how deeply I'm going to end up connecting with that energy. And to be honest, I don't have that kind of person around me. It's just my personal choice that I'm very ruthless in the frequency that I allow to be in my experience and the people that I allow into my life, into my world.
You have no Ruth. Oh boy, you're a toughie.
Yeah, I don't choose that. I don't choose it. I'm not into it. No thanks. But that's just me.
Sure.
Right. And there are those who are happy to do that. There are those who do the victim dance with others. Mm-hmm. They'll support them and they'll listen to them and they'll join in the energy. No judgment to any of them, but I say no to that for me personally.
Exactly. Yeah. And boy, you really touched on it beautifully when you said, even if it's just recognizing that my choice right now is to stay where I am, that is a step forward. That's a really valid point, because truly somebody who has been in the place that we're kind of describing. Now, we're doing this hypothetically. We don't know what the circumstances of that one young woman really are. But hypothetically, somebody who's been in this, caught in between tradition and modern stuff that's going on the internet, and is trying to navigate that, that's a person who has a long history in their life of not making choices. Others have made the choices for them. So just by making the choice, I'm going to stay there, you're right. That is empowering. That does actually give you more power just by saying that, because you just shifted a lifetime pattern by a small amount.
And the thing is, I did a video of this, and I think Duncan's written the article for me on the back of it. Duncan's my copywriter. He takes my videos and makes them into written word. He's really great at communicating the spirit of it in a way that makes sense. But this is one of the things I covered in that piece. It's saying I'm going to stay here means that you've consciously chosen to stay here, versus running on a subconscious program, I've just ended up staying here.
Yeah.
So you're standing in your power.
Yeah.
And if that's the only micro shift that you make towards self-power in this lifetime, you have changed the game for yourself, because you have a new baseline.
That's right.
That even when I decide to watch Netflix and eat cherry pie all day with beer and not really do anything, I've consciously chosen to do that. And so I'm no longer a victim to circumstance. I'm no longer riding on the waves of life unpredictably. I have chosen. This is what I choose. And that is more powerful even than someone that's meditating every morning on autopilot and not making different choices. That's more powerful than someone that does their rampage every day on autopilot, right? Because you are consciously in the driver's seat of your experience. Yeah. And that's a very, very powerful place to be.
Interesting you should mention meditation, because that's actually from the second post that I wanted to address that I found on Facebook, because the person was asking, has anybody here ever really had any benefit from meditating? Mm-hmm. I know that's kind of right in the wheelhouse, but I couldn't resist asking that one.
That's a funny one. That's a funny one. Because sometimes we're looking for a magical thing to come from the back of our meditation versus just enjoying the process of meditating. I was speaking to a young lady who's in one of my programs today. We're speaking about a project. I'm hiring her to do something for me, a secret project, which you find out about in a couple of months.
Secret project.
Secret project. But
wink, wink, nudge, nudge. All right.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink. And it was really funny because she was like, she did her taxes for 2019. And she just wanted to thank me because it's the first year that she's actually made profit in her business. And she was just so happy. I've done it. I've made profit in my business, blah, blah, blah.
Congratulations to her.
Yeah, she's a real star. And again, the thing I love about she's my go-to story. When I talk about like my wins in my Micro to Millions program, she's like because I've got people that are in six figures in the program right now. One guy recorded again, he's up over 500,000, a couple of guys at hundreds of thousands. And, I'm not talking like they're just 100, I'm talking about like hundreds of thousands of people that got tens of thousands and they cleared debt and they're
creating financial freedom. I've got another woman she's on the cusp now. We're just sorting out the last bits for her to get into her financial freedom. So she's already put her notice in her job. She's moving to a new part of the country, and
wow,
she's got freedom on. Yeah. So, and I love these guys and I celebrate them. I really, really do. But stories like this person really excite me more because she's got a renewed relationship with her parents. She's out of scarcity and lack. Because at the beginning, I used to offer subscription payments on the program. She didn't even have the $100 a month for the subscription payments in the beginning.
Yeah.
She didn't have that, right? But now she's got a thriving business that's making her some money. She's just got into a new relationship with someone that actually supports her and loves her and makes her happy, and all this other really good stuff that's happening. But it wasn't because she was chasing something sexy. It's that she just kept showing up and doing the work every day. She wasn't running off into the future looking for this sexy outcome. She was just showing up and doing the work every day. Even when we're talking about this new relationship today, because she was still updating me on what's been happening, and I just reminded her, don't start future pacing yourself into, are we going to get married? Are we going to have 20 million children? Where the kids going to go to school? Blah, 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 blah. Just focus on enjoying the experience as it is right now and having the fullness of that experience every day. They're going to go and do something really fun this weekend. They're going to Universal Studios this
no
weekend.
kidding. Oh, that's great. Yeah.
He's taking Universal Studios. They're from down that part of the country.
Okay.
And I'm like, just enjoy the heck out of your time at Universal Studios.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're going to enjoy every time that you speak to him on the phone, she's like, I laughed more than I've ever laughed before. Enjoy every experience of laughter and just keep moving into that and moving into that. I had a similar conversation with another young lady that I work with as well. And again, she's been having a long distance relationship with a guy that her first love from high school.
Wow.
They've reconnected after 20 years.
Oh my, one of those stories. Yeah.
He's in one state, she's in another. He's about to visit. She started to panic. And I said, well, panicking is future pacing yourself into an outcome that you're not sure about or that you don't want, and bringing that emotional state into the now. So why not just focus on this next trip and having the best time on this next trip, and then focus on the next time that you're talking. Focus on enjoying that conversation. The next time you see each other, focus on enjoying that connection and leaving both of you leaving that connection more filled up, more nourished, and with more love for each other. Just do that consistently and you're going to be okay. So for this person that's very long way around, but for this person that's asking, have you seen any results from meditation? For anyone that's got a practice or a daily habit that they're introducing, let go of tying yourself to, is it going to do this and is it going to do that? Be intentional about who you want to be. Detach from this being the way that gets you there, and just ask yourself, do I enjoy this practice? Here and now. If I got nothing from this, would I do it? If nothing came of it, would I give my time, my energy, my essence to this practice? And if the answer is no, don't do it. And if the answer is yes, keep doing it and keep doing it again.
And as we both know, when people post these things on Facebook or other social media or just ask friends or whatever, very often it's because they just haven't even tried it themselves. They're trying to pre-filter it. Should I even give this one a try? And I think what you're saying is, and I agree with this, is give it a try. If you don't like it, you don't like it. You can move on, but try it once. Just see what you get. You're basically trying to make a decision without data. That doesn't work very well.
Just give it a try. Like, life is full of all these wonderful experiences that we're offered the opportunity to step into. Try them.
Yeah.
See what happens. And if you don't like it, try something else next time. And like it,
I was one of those people who tried meditation and didn't like it and had no success with it at all. Okay, so you know what I mean. I mean, it's a frustrating place to be in. Everybody's talking about meditation. You try it, like, well, I can't even control where my mind is going, and I'm not getting anything out of this. What a waste of time this is. I mean, and then everybody's saying, oh, I get so much benefit out of it. And I feel like, what the heck's wrong with me? Oh my God, everybody else can get benefit, but I can't.
And all of that, like you said, all that pre-filtering, all of that post-filtering, all that filtering and assigning importance and getting any of this junk is doing is pulling you out of the now, pulling you out of a space where you can actually freaking just enjoy life. Like, who cares what you get from meditation if you don't enjoy yourself doing it? Who cares what you get from your practice if it's not leaving you filled up? Like, who cares? Do what feels good and does no harm to others, and let that be your practice. Living a life that you actually love, doing things you actually enjoy on a consistent basis, and watch your world change.
That's the thing. I learned that message from Abraham Hicks. And when Abraham Hicks said that, and I got what they were saying, I got it, that don't worry about outcomes, don't worry about anything else. Just what's the next thing that you would, even if it's not something that you're doing that you like, what's the next thing that you can think of that you like? What's the next thing that comes to your mind that you like? And if you're sitting there and you can't think of anything, then go back to a basic. I've got a roof over my head. I like that. I'm glad I got a roof. It may not only be here for the next 2 weeks, but I got a roof.
It may only be here for the next moment, but I've got it right now. By the time the next moment comes, it's got its own situations to deal with. Let's deal with right now. Right now, it feels good. So I'm going to celebrate that. And guess what? That celebration sets you up your frequency so you can have more stuff that feels good and more stuff that feels amazing, more stuff that feels lovely.
And that was the part that was actually hard to believe. I mean, I allowed myself to believe it because I decided to trust what Abraham Hicks said. But deep down, there was a part of me that said, this is just a bunch of wasted motion. It's not going to actually get better. It's not going to actually improve things. But, well, at least I'll feel better for the moment. It's not going to make anything different. And you know what? For the longest time, it didn't. Not surprisingly, because I believed it wouldn't. It's like, oh, yeah, right. Forgot.
Did you hear a self-fulfilling prophecy, baby? Self-fulfilling prophecy?
You think so?
Maybe, potentially. But, I mean, all of these things, right? All of this stuff, it's just recognizing or having the opportunity to connect with a reality that what we're experiencing is just what we're choosing on some level being made manifest as an experience.
Yeah.
That's it. And when we're basing all of that in stuff that just feels good, then we're setting ourselves up for a much better experience and getting tied up in stories and narratives around stuff that doesn't actually feel good. So why don't we just spend a bit more time connecting with the stuff that feels good? And the more time that you spend doing that, the more amazing life can be. I think the more we're opened up to life being more fun, being more joyful, more playful, and just more something that we want to do, more something that we choose, versus something that we're just in because it's just where we are, or we're in because we don't believe we're worth anything more. We're just in because this is the hand that we were dealt.
Right. One of the things that really surprised me during my own growth process in this arena was coming to recognize that what I thought was, or what I previously believed was me being positive, was actually me being negative. And an example of that would be, I would say, I feel good about, well, for me, it would have been, I feel good about the idea of government being less, of government being smaller. And I thought that was a positive. It didn't occur to me that I was basically pushing against something I didn't like. That never entered my mind.
In order to do that, you have to have a negative that you're running away from, right?
That's right. Yeah. Yeah. When I came to that recognition, then I said to myself, and by the way, again, it was an Abraham Hicks message that pointed out to me, no, you're really focused in on the negative. Then I had to ask myself, well, what do I like positively? And that was a challenge at first because I couldn't think of anything. I had framed everything in terms of what I didn't like. So it's actually a skill I found that you kind of have to develop. You have to develop the skill of saying, okay, I'm going to stop for a moment. Yes, I've identified X and I know I don't like X. What do I like instead of X? You actually have to start almost like riding, when you're riding a bicycle the first time. Okay, I'm going to put my feet on either side and I got to work the pedals. And you basically think through the whole process. I had to think through the process of how do I identify what it is that I like? In fact, it's one of my favorite things to, if somebody kind of comes at me with political stuff, which these days it just kind of rolls off me. I don't really care about it anymore. But if somebody comes at me, they're kind of ask them, what do you like politically? And then they'll come at me with something that they don't like and how they want it to be different. And I'll say, no, that's what you don't like. What do you like? and then watching the brains go, just because they're not used to it. And I think it's not just politics. It's like wide ranges of fields in human endeavor. We spend so much time and effort focused on what we don't like and convince ourselves that because we're saying that we don't like it, that we're expressing what we like.
And you know what? The funny thing is that it's okay to look at what you don't like for a moment in order to allow it to inform what you do like. Yeah. But it depends on the energy that you're bringing to it, right? Because sometimes that's a starting point from working at what you do want. But how are you engaging with it? Are you present and mindful? And from a space of playfulness, saying, okay, I understand I don't like that. Wouldn't it be fun to see what the opposite of that is? Why don't I play with that a little bit? What's the opposite of this? Well, the opposite is that. That feels good. Thank you very much, what I don't like, for showing me what I do like. True. And now you've got a loving transition into something else. Yeah. So it's not necessarily about suppressing the fact that we don't have dislikes. We're going to have things that we don't like. We're going to have contrasting views, right, or contrasting relationships with things. But a contrasting relationship doesn't have to be a disempowering experience that throws up our vibration. It can be something that we just witness as being, oh, that's a contrasting experience to what I desire. Cool. Because that's part of life. There is contrast. There are things that we're going to enjoy and things that we don't enjoy. Things that we enjoy and things that we enjoy more. That's the way it is. There's going to be people that we don't resonate with. There's nothing wrong with that. If I'm framing that in terms of this is a human, it doesn't have to affect how I treat them as a human. It doesn't have to affect my thought quality. It doesn't have to affect how I relate to them in those instances that I have to relate to them, or that, you know, life puts our paths crossing so that I relate to them. I can still deal with them as a decent human being. Doesn't mean I have to have them in my house to join me for my cherry pie and beer. You know, I don't have to do that. You know, they can have their own beer or their own cherry pie somewhere else. Maybe Absolutely. They like apple. Who knows? Mm-hmm. But the fact of the matter is that I can allow these experiences to inform me making a choice that is aligned with what I want to experience. That's number one. And the second piece of that is I can still have these things and not allow it to affect me in a disempowering way.
That's right.
Contrast is allowed. Nay, contrast is going to be there. But it doesn't have to inform how I show up. It doesn't have to inform how I live my life. And it doesn't have to inform where I place and direct my thoughts. But for people, like you said, that have no experience of actually choosing what they like and only have their attention and energy focused on what they don't want, then there is something to be said for that, because you can't stand in your power. I don't see a way that you can conceivably stand in your power and be in that space of perpetual victim.
Yeah, you can't.
I don't like, AKA my environment is only populated with things that I don't like.
Yeah, it's basically the difference between recognizing that I don't like something for the purpose of springboarding into what I do like versus living in what I don't like and pretending that I like the opposite of it.
Yeah.
and they're entirely different ways of living.
Exactly, because on the one hand, what we could say is the experience you're talking about of realizing, hang on a minute, everything is what I don't like. It's the subconscious mind hiding with you being this victim that has a reality that they don't like.
Exactly.
And giving you this fancy covering of, this is the opposite. So, you know, this is for them.
So it's okay. It's okay.
This is the yeah. But what's really happening is, no, you're being you're in a victimhood. And in that space of victimhood, you are running on a story that says my life has only got things in it that I don't like. There's nothing in my life that I like.
Exactly.
And there's probably going to be other layers to that, whether it's I'm unworthy, I'm not allowed to have this or whatever. You know, there's probably a story running underneath it, a narrative underneath it, which is okay. And it's not necessarily even to understand what that narrative is, so much as to make the choice here and now to not give your power away to that narrative, not be a slave to it.
And by the way, there is a very strong clue that even the non-intuitive can recognize when they're trying to figure out, well, am I really in a place where I really do think that everything is just, you know, the opposite of a negative, and I'm just thinking about it in those terms. it's very simple. If you're looking around and you're seeing most of your life is about a bunch of stuff that is the negative that you're thinking about the opposite of, then guess what? Yes, you are focused on that. That's what you brought into your life. That's how I finally made the connection. Like, oh my God, I've been doing this all along and I didn't even know it. But at least I knew, because the evidence of my life had shown it to me. And that was a tremendously powerful experience. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Okay, let's see. We've got another post here. We got about 15 minutes left or so. This is somebody who says, "Hi, everyone. I need help. I've been trying to keep my focus on the law of attraction. I've been working on it for a long time, but I am unable to focus on positive things because I'm depressed. My depression is something I've been fighting with for a long time. Does anyone have tips on how I can, despite being depressed, still focus on beautiful things and positive things? I always felt like life was unfair and that I never will or can be happy. But I hope you guys can help me or give me tips. It's been hard. Thank you."
So this is a real situation for a lot of people. I actually recorded for my Do It With Dan podcast a second episode yesterday with a powerhouse of a woman who's now become a dear friend. She does NLP, hypnotherapy and timeline therapy, and mixes in spirituality and other really cool stuff. She's just amazing. She's based in the UK, really cool woman. And it was interesting because she shared more of her story in the episode we recorded yesterday that I didn't know. Oh. And that's that she'd actually suffered from clinical depression since the age of about 5.
Wow. Oh my.
As in clinical, not you're a bit sad, you're a sad child, as in
like diagnosed,
therapy, moved on to medication, diagnosed, clinic, since the age of 5.
Yeah.
She's broken free from that, living a completely different experience now. And we touched, this is one of the things we ended because it was quite big, the episode yesterday. For me, beyond intention, my model, it came from the pits of suicidal depression for myself. Right? So I sympathize with people in dark places, but it's not an excuse. And I'm not sympathizing as someone that's from the outside looking in. I'm sympathizing as someone that the only reason why I didn't commit suicide is because I didn't want to fail at something else, and actually ended up over-analyzing myself out of the act of suicide because I didn't have a surefire way of doing it. Honestly, Walt, if I had a gun or... so my options were limited at the time. I overthought of the fact that I've seen people with cuts on their wrists, so that wasn't a surefire way. And I didn't want to half do it and then be rescued and then be that guy that have another thing, right, that I failed at.
I have to congratulate you. I mean, that's the first time I've ever heard of a real use for overanalyzing. That's really pretty powerful.
This is it, basically. If there was any way, if I could have jumped off a bridge, I would have done it. Right? It was just I was limited in my choices. And so I just can't accept that this is an excuse. And I do genuinely feel that this person isn't speaking from a space of excuse. They're genuinely speaking from a place of wanting to make change. And so what I'd say to them is, forget about trying to feel good right now and focus on dealing with this underlying challenge, which is going to keep sabotaging your movement forward anyway. And there are strategies available to effectively deal with the deepest and darkest of depressive states and depressive states of being. It is not something that you have to suffer with. Mental health is not something that should be played with, I don't think at all. Far too many people are taking their life on the back of mental health challenges that don't need to do so. There are solutions that are available. I think it's sad that the medical profession right now just jumps into medication. I think and just numbing people out. It makes me sad. Part and parcel, I actually was trying to do some work the year before last. I was working with some veteran institutions to work on doing something with veterans, because the thing is 22 veterans a day in the US are committing suicide, which I think is really, really sad. And none of these challenges are things that cannot that don't have an available solution. And so I would say, if the solutions that have been worked with aren't having success so far, check out timeline therapy. I've found it to be really powerful in people I've spoken to. Working deeply with the mind in a coherent way, whether it's neurolinguistic based tools, getting in and addressing what the challenge is. It could be a deeper energetic challenge that's being represented there, which may be served by different forms of energy work to supplement work with the mind. But I think with anything, it's important to understand that any outcome must be aligned on all of our levels of being. It doesn't matter if it's moving out of depression. It doesn't matter if it's moving into a new relationship or moving out of financial scarcity. It's still the same thing. I must choose it and decide to commit to it and decide to let go of the stories of who I am right now. Mm-hmm. I must accept that I'm responsible for creating this new outcome. I must get present, and in that state of presence, connect and align with a new vibration, a new frequency. And that connection piece, that clearing piece, sometimes is digging in and doing a lot of work. So for this person, if I was giving them beyond intention, it'll be choose. So it'll be choosing to be emotionally balanced or free to experience joy, for example. Then accepting that you do have the power to actually create this new outcome. You can do it. Mm-hmm. And then using and playing with a variety of different combinations of tools, specifically with the intention of breaking out of those patterns and getting back to the now. And there are tools to do that. Once you're clear, then you can start imprinting new feelings. Then you can start thinking about feeling good. Then you can start thinking about connecting to all this. But so long as you're in the pits of despair, that someone that's been in that place really does recognize that you can fall into. There's always going to be this challenge, or you're going to end up reverting back to it. Deal with it. You have the opportunity here to deal with it. There are tools that can support that. I'm not a medical professional. I'm not giving anyone medical advice or advice on professional advice, but I'm saying from personal experience, there are solutions. Set the intention even of finding the right solution and connect with the outcome of finding the right solution, and allow the opportunity to come to you. There are 8 billion people in the world and infinite possibilities. The solution and the optimal path to you finding it is available. Maybe start there first and go forward.
By the way, you mentioned people suffering from severe depression like you went through, people who were suicidal like you went through. And as you point out, we're not medical professionals here. However, there are resources immediately available for people who are on the edge of suicide. So we should point that out. You just go to Google and do a search on assistance with preventing suicide or something along that line, some kind of search like that, and stuff will pop up in your own area. Phone numbers you can call toll free and so forth to basically be talked off the ledge. And not only that, given ideas on how you can get out of this terrible place that you're in right now. Mm-hmm. Also, you mentioned the tools. One of those wonderful tools is YouTube. And I say that not because of the tremendous numbers of videos from people like you and me and others who are talking about law of attraction and getting control of your thoughts and your feelings and so forth. But there are also videos like, for instance, a gentleman who came on the show about 2 weeks ago through the auspices of Linda Armstrong, who does the Friday show with me. She brought on Chief Harold Peck, who was a five-term. He was in for 5 times in the military. What do they call that? Each time that they go through, I can't think what that's called.
Tours. 5 tours.
5 tours. He went through 5 tours. In the military, and he was eventually just honorably discharged, but kicked out because his body had broken down so severely that he really wasn't useful to the military anymore. And he originally thought he was going to go into real estate. That lasted about a week. And he was in depression. His marriage broke up. He became alienated from his kids. I mean, everything just fell apart on him. And fortunately, he was able to get some help, including from Linda, and turned his life around. And now he does YouTube videos aimed at fellow veterans going through PTSD and other things that come out of being a veteran. And there's really nothing as powerful as talking to somebody else who's gone through the same thing you have and come out the other side. I mean, it's like a joke that was once told on the television series The West Wing. I thought it was a wonderful story/joke. And it was told to make a point, but the joke goes like this. The guy is walking on the street and he falls through a hole in the sidewalk. And falls down like 10 feet and he can't get out. He can't find any way out. And as he's sitting there, he sees a doctor walk by. He says, "Doctor, I'm stuck down in this hole. Can you help me out?" The doctor writes him a prescription, throws it into the hole, and walks on. Mm-hmm. He sits there for a while, and then a minister comes by and he says, "Father, can you help me? I'm down stuck in this hole." The minister writes him, the priest writes him a what do you call it?
Bible verse.
A what?
Bible verse? Scripture?
A Bible verse, sure. Yeah, or a prayer. Actually, a prayer is where I was going. Writes a prayer and throws it into the hole and moves on. Finally, our friend down in the hole sees his friend walking by and says, "Joe, I'm stuck down in this hole. Can you help me out?" And Joe jumps into the hole. And he says, "Are you stupid? Now we're both stuck in the hole." And Joe says, "Yeah, but I've been down here before and I know the way out." And that's the point. If you know somebody else who has similar circumstances to you, you can find them on YouTube who have found the way out. And that's why they're doing YouTube videos, to help other people like themselves find that way out. So if, for instance, you are ex-military dealing with PTSD or other issues, look up Chief Harold Peck. He's got a growing following, and man, I mean, he just calls it like it is. I mean, you and I talk nice and clean, and this guy is like every third word is a filthy word out of his mouth, but he says it straight. I mean, he's just a straight talker. I speak nice and clean
on your show. I speak nice and clean on your show.
Well, that's because you're a gentleman. But Harold he just says it like it is, and he says it in a way that somebody else who's been in the military would get. Because it'd be so familiar to them. And he even speaks woo-woo, which is, to this day, it blows his mind that he does that.
Amazing.
So yeah, definitely worth checking out to see. There are so many people on YouTube these days making their own videos, so why not find somebody who's got something similar to what you have, what you're dealing with, who came out the other side, because they're not that hard to find, actually. So
that's beautiful.
Just a thought. Yeah. So, well, those are our questions to address for the day. We've only got a couple minutes left. Do you want to tell people about anything upcoming with Beyond Intentions, or any of the work that you're doing, any videos you're putting out, anything like that?
They just missed. Well, I'm halfway through. I'm doing a 4-day masterclass on abundance in my group, which is going fun. We just wrapped up day 2 today. That's been really fun. But I've actually got I've got a free video that you can get on my website, dreamwithdan.com. You can go on the front page, we can go dreamwithdan.com/HMM, Harmonious Money Magnet. And it's 3 secrets to becoming a harmonious money magnet revealed. So that's a really cool resource that we've put up now. So that's really cool. I'm adding more resources to the website now, but that's a really cool one at the moment. So dreamwithdan.com/HMM, or just on the front page, it'll bring up the little pop-up thingy that you can go and grab it. And let me know how you feel, how you find that. I think it'd be pretty cool to have some stories of people contacting the show and letting us know how they're getting on with that. But
absolutely. Yeah, we love hearing from listeners, whether you reach out by email or on Facebook or wherever else. Just reach out to us. By the way, tell them also you got the Facebook group. That's where you can actually always find out what you're putting out next, right? Because you're always announcing it there.
Yeah. I mean, there wasn't much of a run up to this. I was literally I'd had quite a long week last week, and then me and Olga went to do some whale watching on Friday morning.
Oh wow!
And then we wrapped up on the boat, and we got back to the dock. And I was like, should we go and hang out on the beach today? I was like, do you know what? I had a really long week. I've done a lot of whole days of recording and loads of stuff. So I said, do you know what? I'm just going to take this afternoon off and just hang out on the beach. So we went to the beach club, and I was just sitting there, and I was like, do you know what? I'm going to do a masterclass next week. And I just did a post, sat there and decided to do a 4-day masterclass. Because normally I do a 5-day challenge, normally every few months or whatever. I do a 5-day challenge, and I did 3 of them last year, and that were really, 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 really powerful for the people that took part. But normally we do like a whole email series and all this fancy stuff. But no, this time I just literally hopped on. This morning I decided, what gift I'm going to give away every day for the people that sort of take part. And yeah, it's been great so far. We'll see. Last time I did a 5-day challenge on the money game in October or whenever it was, and the intention was just to manifest $10. One person did £27,000, another one $18,000, and another one most people, the average was between $100 and $2,000 that was manifested, but the intention was just to create 10. But the funny thing, and I'll leave it with this, I'll leave it with this and not drag on about it, but we didn't actually set the intention till Friday, and people started manifesting money on the Monday and Tuesday.
Yeah. And it can happen exactly like that, just that quickly. It's amazing. Especially when I don't know what it is about small amounts. I guess what happens is in some way we just kind of open up our subconscious or something and we start believing in something we didn't believe in before, something along that line. I've never figured it out, but there is something powerful about just going after a small amount.
That's what my micro shifting principle is all about, reducing the importance, reducing the stress levels, going for that baby step, and then compounding it and getting the evidence so that you're open to create more.
Very cool. Well, my friend, we're going to be talking more about your book on Thursday, because we kind of introduced it a little bit this past Thursday, but we're going to go a little bit more in depth. Brilliant. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll actually be more prepared this time, I promise. Fortunately, you gave me some clues, especially toward the end when you gave me that last story. Okay, now I know where to pick up on the book. Okay, so I'll go to the next. So thank you very much for that. Appreciate it. But hopefully Alex will be back, and we'll be doing it again on Thursday. So looking forward to that. Thank you, live streamers. Thank you to our podcast listeners as well. Without you, we would not have a podcast. We're so grateful for you. We'll see you all next time here on LOA Today. Goodbye, everybody.
Take care.